right here for your friends on FanDuel TV, of course, on the Ringer Gambling Show. We have Raheem Palmer from Las Vegas. We have Joe House from Washington, D.C. And yes, you have a very beat-up John Jastrzemski after Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Guys, this game was over. This game was done. The Knicks had a 14-point fourth-quarter lead inside of 3 minutes to play. The Knicks went on an insane fourth-quarter run with Jalen Brunson on the bench with 5 fouls. Larry David and John Hamm are high-fiving. Everybody is in good spirits. And then all hell broke loose. Nesmith hits 5 of 6 threes. The Knicks are missing foul shots. But, fellas, I got to be honest. I didn't think they were losing the damn game until I got to see Halliburton have a shot that bounces up and down and up and down. It goes in. He's doing the Reggie Miller. Then I got to sit through 5 minutes of overtime. And the Knicks, Joe House, how did this happen?
You know, JJ, I like to come into these shows with a big, happy smile on my face. We have a great time. I'm always looking forward to sitting down with the fellas and talking through, you know, the gambling card and everything. I have to hold it in. I'm crushed for you, my friend. Now, I will say this. Earlier today, Dream shared with us that he had a feeling. He had a little bit of a premonition. He said, look out for Indiana. He said, I think that this series is going to go back to Indiana tied 1-1, and don't be surprised if tonight is the night. Now, here's the thing. We have to start talking about Tyrese Halliburton in a whole nother light at a whole nother level. And he keeps on doing that thing. And he keeps doing it on the biggest stages, in the biggest moments. He went into the home of the clutch player of the year of 2025 and out-clutched him with a shot that really had no business whatsoever going in. But that is this version of this Pacers team. They are not dead until the clock says 0.000.000, Dream. They just ball. And I'll stop in 1 second. The most impressive statistic, if you go through the whole sheet, the thing that blows my mind, 7 turnovers in 5 quarters of basketball. That is among all of the stats, that's the one that caught my eye, Dream.
Oh, by far. And the biggest thing is that the Pacers, they play this breakneck pace. They played 106 possessions today and only had 7 turnovers. So that's what makes it more impressive. And then you got Halliburton, who has the ball in his hands all the time. He had just 2 turnovers tonight. So, I mean, for them to play at this breakneck pace and be able to control the tempo, they just wear teams down. And that's why you see all of these, you know, great comebacks, because you look at the Knicks, they're only playing 7 or 8 guys. They're not playing 10. I mean, they brought in DeLon Wright out of nowhere today, but for the most part, they're playing 7 or 8 guys. Meanwhile, you got the Indiana Pacers. They're going 10 deep, like it's a regular season game. So, I mean, absolutely impressive stuff from the Indiana Pacers. But Nesmith, I mean, I don't know who he turned into the last 3-4 minutes.
Turned into Steph Curry. That's who he turned into, Raheem. I mean, let's be honest. He had every 3 imaginable.
I mean, absolutely unbelievable. But I know you're disgusted, JJ.
Well, let's think about this, Raheem. And you had a feeling on Indiana in game 1. Okay, fine. First quarter was a ton of fun. Knicks had a lead in the second quarter. But when they go up to this crazy fourth quarter run with Brunson on the bench, this game is over. So I like to ask someone like you, if you have an Indiana investment. Because for me, honestly, and this is not coming from the New York guy, dead serious, even as Nesmith is making threes, even as I'm witnessing what I'm witnessing, I still felt like the Knicks were going to win the game. I just did. I was like, they're playing around. They're going to find a way. Explain to me the moment when you thought Indiana was going to pull this off.
When they were down 2 with the ball, I said Tyrese Halliburton is going to shoot a 3. I just knew he was going to take a 3. And obviously he tried to take a 3, but he stepped on the line a la Kevin Durant in the Bucks series. So that's when I said, you know, Indiana's going to win this game. But before that, I just thought this game was done. And the shocking thing to me was Indiana is down 2 with about 11 minutes to go. Brunson picks up his 5th foul, and then the Knicks go on a 17-6 run. It just feels like everything that you expected based on what happened in this game, it went the total opposite direction. So, I mean, honestly, at this point in time, I'm here for the surprises.
House, when did you get the moment in your head point blank, Indiana's winning this game?
When the ball bounced off the back of the rim and went 17 feet high, straight up, and then came straight down through the net. That was the moment.
You and me both.
How do you come back from that?
That's the question now, House. I want to pivot. Sorry to cut you off there, but I think it's an important element to now dissect. We know the Knicks are a really tough team, from the head coach to their best player. What they've done in this postseason has been super impressive. House, we see it in sports all the time. We saw it in the World Series with the Yankees and the Dodgers when the Yankees had a commanding lead. They got stunned by Freddie Freeman. Terrible managerial move by Aaron Boone. Okay, why do I bring that up? Because sometimes in a 7-game series, when you have a game like this that's so seismic, it's impossible to overcome it. I ask you, sir, is this now impossible for the Knicks to overcome?
No way. No. I mean, it's still the case that the Knicks have the 5 best players. The problem all along is the effect of attrition. We talked about it in our preview on Monday's show. The fact that the Pacers can go so deep and have so many different options in terms of which guy is going to get hot at exactly the right moment, at exactly the right time to tilt the field in the direction of the Pacers. But the Knicks still have the best guys, and their guys, had a pretty amazing game. Brunson was amazing. Cat was amazing. You could have got more out of OG and Mikal Bridges both. But, it's still the case that the Knicks, it's formidable. And I'm shocked that we got double-digit minutes from 3 other guys other than the starting 5 for the Knicks. It was a little bit of a rope-a-dope by Tibbs there. So, I mean, that they just have to be patient. This has all the hallmarks of a long series to me, Dream.
So the Knicks just have to do the little things. They didn't hit free throws tonight. They were 28 of 40 from the free throw line. If they make free throws, they win this game. But there are things about this, that we saw in game 1 that are sustainable going forward. You look at the Knicks' offensive rebound rate. 41% offensive rebound rate. If you go to cleaning the glass, that's in the 96th percentile of all NBA games this year. Another thing that's sustainable because they have Jalen Brunson. They had a 29% free throw rate. So they're getting to the line and they're getting extra possessions. Those are 2 things that aren't going to change. But the Knicks have to do the little things. So I do think they can recover. I do think this is going to be a long series. I think this is going to be a dogfight. But at the end of the day, you got to do the little things. You look at the game 2 line right now. This line open, Knicks -4.5. It's already up to 6.
Up to 6. Is that the classic 0-1 tax that you're paying on a home team that's a favorite in the series, Raheem? Is that why we're seeing that line move?
I talk about this all the time. If you look at the zigzag theory, top 3 seeds coming off of a game 1 loss, the Knicks fit that to a T. That hits around 60% of the time. So you're seeing the market all on the Knicks right now. And then obviously, if you look at, this might be a good time to buy in on the Knicks. Even if you have the Indiana Pacers, you can get plus money on both sides. The Knicks are plus 142 to win the series. As you know, myself and House, we did take the Pacers with the plus 124. So if you just want to, get a good profit right now, you can do that right now and take the Knicks at plus 142. The Pacers are minus 168. I think the Knicks win this. And, you're going to see this around even money or so.
I think you brought up a brilliant point for the Knicks now moving forward. They should be able to have great success on the glass. We saw it especially early in this game. To me, House, I thought it was a great adjustment by Indiana. The fact that in the third quarter, they neutralized it to some degree. It kind of gave them a fighting chance, and really Nesmith gave them the fighting chance in the fourth quarter. Knicks can't lose Towns in this series. They don't have anybody that can really match up with Karl Anthony Towns. And we talked about this. Listen, regular season, he had great success against the Indiana Pacers. He had a monstrous game in game number 1. Now, he ran out of gas a little bit in the overtime, got beat up a little bit in the overtime, so maybe that's something to watch. But this has got to be a heavy Karl Anthony Towns series. And for me, House, I took Knicks game 1, Knicks to win the series. Well, that's over and done with. We can say goodbye to that one after the Knicks did not take care of business and choked in epic fashion. Plus 142, I'm tempted to get on Just because, hey, if you like them to win the series, game one, hey, if they would have lost a 2-point game, you'd be singing a different tune as opposed to what happened in the fourth quarter. Here's what scares me, though. Knicks House have never, and I repeat, never, won a postseason series when they have lost game one at home.
I can't talk myself into it. I mean, the problem is this is the version of the Pacers. I was prepared to accept the loss. It would have been a fine loss. I mean, I had my notes all written out for why the Knicks, under these circumstances, there was a reason that line went from 3.5 up to 4.5, and I thought that was perfectly reasonable, the opening game line. And all the way up until, I mean, I hate to really subject you to this, but the Knicks were up 9 points with 58 seconds left. The score was 121-112 with 58 seconds left in the game. They're supposed to win the game. That's it, and it would have been fine. And to your point, JJ, we don't have to relive it, but I can't get myself into a Knicks frame of mind because this is that Pacers team that I imagined, kind of validating the thesis for why I like them. So I'm not going to do anything in terms of investing in the Knicks.
I understand that. Raheem, you could not have a more free game, in my opinion, in game two for the Indiana Pacers. And I know people are going to say, oh, it's a 7-game series. I never look at it that way. They stole game one. They know they're going back to their home arena for game 3 and game 4. I think this is a free and loose spot for the Pacers, and I would use that to my advantage if I'm Carlisle. I think that's a big, big key in this game. That's a house money freewheeling spot.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, I think this is a Knicks blowout or a Pacers win outright. There's no in between. This is not going to come down to the number, and I think it's going to be very similar to what we saw in Cavs-Pacers game 2. You look at Cavs-Pacers game 2. Cavs got off to a big lead. They should have won that game. I mean, they were up double digits over the Pacers in the first half and in the fourth quarter, and they blew it. So I think the Knicks are really going to have to just lock the windows, close the doors, and just shut this game out to the point where the Pacers, they're going to have to put their bench in. Otherwise, if this is close, I'm scared for the New York Knicks.
Well, listen, you guys brought it up with Indiana. It should not be lost on anybody. They were down, dead and buried in that Milwaukee game 5. Stole a game. Game 2 against the Cavaliers. Exact position. It was 9 with a minute to go, give or take. Stole a game. That's something now we're going to be keeping in the back of our minds, House, when we watch this Indiana team in every single one of these games, where even if your usual NBA instincts tell you it's over, it ain't over with this group.
You're right. Between now, the show is up Thursday morning, and the game Friday night, I'm going to be in the prop markets. I don't want to mess around with side, because I do agree absolutely with the contention that this is either a Knicks blowout or an Indiana Pacers on the money line. So maybe I'll put a tiny bit on the Pacers money line, because we just keep seeing these teams this entire playoff series go into the favorites' house and win 2 games in a row. So maybe I'll have a little bit on that, but really I'm going to try and play player totals based on the 2 outcomes and see if I can't come out with a little bit of a profit out of the game too.
I mean, we can get into one right now. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, his over is 23.5. And I think that's very, very short. I mean, even Jalen Brunson at 29.5. You look at Donovan Mitchell in that Pacers series. He was about 35, 40 points pretty much every game of that series. And then tonight, Jalen Brunson had 31 points in the fourth quarter and had in just 28 minutes, and he finished with 43. So I think you can go over on both of those guys.
Especially when you consider the pace. But, boys, there was Charles Smith. There was Reggie game 1 in 95. There was the finger roll at the end of that series. And you guys will remember where you were when you chatted with your boy after Nesmith and Halliburton add to the agony, the pain, and the suffering after an all-time choke and an all-time Knicks playoff loss. We have a lot more coming your way. When we come back, East Coast Bias Boys are going to dive into the Western Conference Finals. Maybe that'll put me in a better mood. I don't know. Welcome back, East Coast Bias. We went through the tilt-a-whirl of the Eastern Conference Finals in Game 1 between the Knicks and the Indiana Pacers. Now let's shift our direction to Game 1 and the bigger picture of this series in the Western Conference Finals, where, fellas, for a half, Joe House and John Jastrzemski were feeling pretty good. We had the Minnesota Timberwolves plus the points, as you know, Raheem. Julius Randle had a monstrous first half, and I'm like, great. This game is exactly where I want it to be. You want to tell me Oklahoma City wins a close game? Yeah, maybe I could live in that world. But you felt pretty good about the fact that Minnesota was going to make that a game and it was going to be competitive. All of a sudden, you snap your fingers in the third quarter. That game goes from being a Minnesota lead to all of a sudden you look up and Oklahoma City's up 9, they're up 10, and of course they're pulling away in the fourth quarter. We know how good their defense is, but Joe House, make it make sense. It looks so good. It felt so good. Randall doing his thing. Timberwolves doing their thing. And then they're not. Please explain.
Yeah, JJ, I wish I could help make sense out of it, but it really boils down to a 20-6 run that Oklahoma City went on after Minnesota went up. Minnesota was up by 4 points with 7 minutes and 20 seconds left in the third quarter. Exactly the competitive game that we imagined. Maybe a bit slower pace. It did have the feature, if you were a Minnesota backer, of Randall getting the touches that he needed. But here is the thing. The Minnesota Timberwolves decided to die by the three. I had to go in and perform an autopsy. What the hell happened in the third quarter, fellas? Well, I can tell you. What happened is the Minnesota Timberwolves shot 2 for 11 from the field with 6 missed three-pointers, 1 for 4 from the free throw line with Mr. Rudy Gobert missing both of his chances. Congrats, Rudy. Another, stellar playoff performance out of him. And along the way, only 1 shot from Randall, the guy that was literally unstoppable in the first half. Now, the thing for Oklahoma City is they got out and were able to run 9 for 12 from the field. That's how you get to a 20-6 run that flips the game and puts Minnesota down by 10 points. But that run was fueled by all of these misses. They weren't turning the ball over. Oklahoma City had more turnovers during this stretch. They had 3 turnovers to only 1 by Minnesota. It was just Minnesota taking and missing threes, Randall only getting 1 shot up during this stretch, and the game was over. I mean, Minnesota never cut the lead any closer than 9, and they basically swapped baskets for the first half of the fourth quarter until Oklahoma City put it away at the end. But the number that's glaring is 51 three-point attempts. That's just a recipe for disaster, and it's apparent that Minnesota was inclined to take the shots that became available, and they had their role players take those shots, and their role players were bad at it. Their bench players were bad at taking threes, Dream. So that's the anatomy of a loss. That's how you get there. And Minnesota's transition defense was bad. It wasn't a huge free throw discrepancy. It wasn't a huge rebounding discrepancy. It was Oklahoma City saying, please, Minnesota, take all of these dumb threes and let us get out and run away with this game. And that's what happened.
I think we've seen what we've seen from Oklahoma City all year long. They're one of those teams who say, go ahead, take as many threes as you want. We're going to let your shooter shoot. And that's exactly what happened. But more importantly, we know Oklahoma City, they limit attempts at the rim. Minnesota only took 12 shots at the rim all game long. And that is something that we've seen from Oklahoma City. They limit attempts at the rim. They force turnovers. They forced 17 Minnesota turnovers. And they gained 31 points off of those 17 turnovers. And it didn't feel like this was a particularly high turnover game from Minnesota. You look at some of those games in the Warriors series. I mean, the last 3 games, they had 20, 19, and 19 turnovers. So this thing could get worse. And it didn't feel like Oklahoma City had their A game. It really didn't. You look at that first quarter, Minnesota, they had 6 turnovers and 7 fouls, and Minnesota was still up. So I think Minnesota is really in a tough position in this series. Like, I truly do. And, I spoke about my motto the other day. Before the series even started, it gave Oklahoma City an 88% chance of winning this series. That's minus 775. Now it's up to about 93%. So you're looking at minus 1377 compared to the market, which has this at minus 750. So I think Minnesota is really in a tough position. They're going to have to knock down some threes. So I mean, that's going to be key for the series. Their 3-point variance is really going to matter because those shots will be there. Now, I can't guarantee that they're going to shoot this poorly, but at the end of the day, the turnovers are still going to be an issue.
Here's the problem, though, Raheem. You mentioned Minnesota. Oh, they're not going to be able to shoot it this poorly. In theory, you're right. They have not shot the ball great in these last couple of postseason games. They've had some shooting duds. You even go back to the series they played against Golden State. You look at the closeout game they had against the Lakers. They did not shoot it great from three. House, that's problematic. That's just major, major problematic on a lot of different fronts, on a lot of different levels. And as someone that bet over 5.5 games at minus 144, someone took the Timberwolves plus games in the series. House, it's early. I know it's one game. I know these series can turn on a dime. We've seen that before. I am not encouraged by what I saw with the Timberwolves. That's not the sort of game one that gives me confidence now moving forward. Hey, they have the makings and the capabilities of making this a long series. I don't have that comfort.
I share that concern, JJ. Here's what we need to ask Dream, because I need to cover off a whole bunch of Minnesota exposure. I'm in too deep. I really liked this matchup for Minnesota. I don't want anything to do with Rudy Gobert any longer. He can't catch the ball clean. I know that it was somewhat preposterous to see him out at the high post at the free throw line catching balls from DDV and not knowing what to do with it. But my issue is with down low. He can't catch an offensive rebound clean. He can't catch a post-entry pass clean. The defense always has an advantage. I don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to have anything to do with Minnesota, but I have to get out of this position in a cost-effective way. I'm cautious. So here's what I want to do is bet Oklahoma City minus 1.5 games. It's minus 260. So I have to lay so much out there to cover off the Minnesota exposure, except I think that's the best bet. that's like the way that I prefer to do it. Now, I don't know if there's a method to go game by game and try and get out of the position and cover it off. But right now, Oklahoma City minus 1.5 in the series at minus 260 is jumping off the board at me, Dream.
That's tough. That's a lot of juice.
It's a lot of juice. I don't love it, but I don't know what else to do.
I mean, you probably would be safe with Oklahoma City minus 2.5. But I mean, I think, that's probably a bridge too far. I mean, at this point, I mean, I think the biggest thing that you could probably do is just wait for game 3, because Oklahoma City is minus 7.5 for game 2. I mean, that number's probably going to be 3, maybe 2, maybe 4 at worst for, game 3. So I think that's probably the spot. Maybe you get lucky and Minnesota wins game 2 and then you can get out from there. But to lay minus 260 on minus 1.5, I think you put yourself in a position to where if somebody gets hurt.
Yeah, you could get double whammy, House.
Well, I wouldn't try and cover the whole bet, but I want to buy a position that helps take out some of this Minnesota exposure, because I didn't like what I saw, JJ.
I totally get that. Totally get it.
It's so crazy. I would rather lay 2.5 minus 106 than 1.5 minus 260.
I mean, you can, the number for Oklahoma City winning 4 games to 1 is exactly what that it's plus 210 for Oklahoma City to win the series 4 games to 1. Do I just jump into that? Like for Oklahoma City to win 4-1 and 4-2 is plus 370. Maybe some chunks of those 2 bets.
Kind of think that's your better bet as opposed to going with the minus 1.5 games where you're laying that serious juice. I don't feel comforted by that. I just don't. I know the predicament though. And listen, very concerning stuff for the Wolves after game number 1. Now,
you know what makes it more concerning is because Oklahoma City was coming off the game 7. You're coming off of game 7. You can't have 6 turnovers and 7 fouls in the first quarter. That's a spot, and they were up.
Well, they should have been up by a lot more. To your point, Raheem, they were still up at the end of that quarter. They should have been up by double digits. And it felt like there were a couple of stretches in that game, first quarter, second quarter, where the T-Wolves just closed those quarters terribly. And I talk about this all the time. If you close quarters terribly, it adds up, and it usually comes back to bite in the butt. And sure enough, that ended up having some negative impact across the board for the T-Wolves. Now, want to get to game 2, guys, because game 1, I think you had way more of a split perspective, Raheem, on what the game was going to look like because, hey, OKC just came off of game 7. Minnesota had the rust factor. Some people maybe wanted to take that into account. Well, I have to imagine after what we saw in the first game of this series, the books are going to get nothing but Oklahoma City money, and they are going to be begging for anyone to go and take the Minnesota Timberwolves just because that is what the narrative and that's what the perception is on the series at this current point in time. So, Dream, OKC laying 7.5. Like it, love it, hate it, indifferent. Where do we stand on the spread?
So, I mean, my model before game 1 had this right at 7.2 for, I think, the postseason, and I think minus 8.5 for the full season. So I'm kind of right on number. But I want to look at the total because, you know, I text you guys before the game. I like the under in game 1. The total got steamed all the way up to about 219. Now, you saw that game go under, and now this total's back at 214. I want the over because we spoke about how Minnesota, they missed all of those threes. 15 for 51 from behind the arc, 29%, and then 34% from the field. And there's been a lot of talk about SGA getting to the line a ton and touch foul.
He's the new foul merchant, Raheem. We might as well call him the new foul merchant. Everybody get on my poor guy Brunson. Listen, he does his bag of tricks. SGA is putting him to shame, dude. I'm glad you brought that up.
If he's going to continue getting to the line, we're going to see some aggressiveness from Anthony Edwards as well. And I think you're going to see the three-point shooting improve from Minnesota. I think this is an over. If game 1 got steamed to 219, then 214 is way too low. So let me go over. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not even playing the side.
All right, so you stand away from the side. You like the total in this game. House, I know it's going to be impossible for you to get back on that Minnesota train, but everything about my instincts with game 2, they tell me be careful of OKC. It's just, I'm not saying OKC is going to lose the game. This just reeks of a fishy spot, in my opinion, here in game 2. That's the way I read it.
I understand the perspective, but part of the concern and part of the conundrum is we've gotten 2 consecutive very good Jalen Williams games. When I went into my anatomy of what happened in that third quarter collapse, Jalen Williams was an important part of the run that Oklahoma City went on. And it feels like that game 7 against Denver might have been a confidence builder for him. And it might be the answer to the question that Dream posed at the outset of this series, which is who is Oklahoma City's number 2? It's supposed to be Jalen Williams. If he gets going, then I think it's an additional heavy lift for Minnesota, even though I understand your idea that it's a fishy spot. The other thing that concerns me is what the hell happened to Naz Reid? I haven't had a chance to say enough bad things about him. Dante DiVincenzo is going to miss shots. He's going to take shots and he's going to miss shots. And that's just the way it's going to go. And he'll make some. They better not shoot 51 threes in this game too, because they will absolutely lose if that comes to pass. But, you know, Naz Reid was another guy who was supposed to be able to score. He missed bunnies, he missed layups, and he also looked completely lost. And I think my concern is Oklahoma City deserves the credit for the defensive pressure that creates this scheme where the open shots are these role player shots. And that's what concerns me, Dream, with going over. And if Anthony Edwards does indeed get more aggressive, those are free throws. That's going to the free throw line. That doesn't translate into scoring. Minnesota scored 40 points in the second half. It scares the daylights out of me to jump into a total position. I think I'm just going to lay the points with Oklahoma City Thunder. They're the better team, and they showed us a versatility in terms of how they won that game. Think about how they beat the Nuggets in game 7 and come back 2 nights later and beat Minnesota in a different way. And what if they come out hitting shots at the beginning of game 2 and get rolling the way they like to, have their version of it? I mean, Chet Holmgren was outstanding. Hartenstein, he was so good. Hartenstein sat on the bench, but Hartenstein has an advantage as well. So I think I'm going to lay the 7.5 with Oklahoma City Thunder, JJ.
I get it. I have a best bet for this game. I'll give it now. We'll circle back with best bets later on in the show. Julius Randle's props, guys. He's basically gone over 20-plus points in every single one of these Timberwolves playoff games, with the exception of 2. Game 1, they beat the you-know-what out of the Lakers. Game 1 of the prior series against Golden State was also a blowout. You give me Julius Randle over 19.5 points at even money, sign me up right now. He's had great success. He's playing with enormous confidence. They have done a great job of making sure that he's actively involved in the offense. And House, you roll over the questions we have about some of the other role players on this Minnesota team that have been unable to find pay dirt as far as scoring. DiVincenzo has been off his game. Naz Reid has been off his game. Raheem, I know that might seem a little square because you look at it and you say 19.5 even money. What am I missing here? I'm all over that. Randall's getting 20-plus points in this game.
I can see that. I like that. I like that as well. I think I have the question I had for you guys is, how do we project Rudy Gobert going forward? Because it feels like in game 1, Finch tried to go small to match up with Oklahoma City. And I don't know if that's the way to go. Are we going to see more minutes from Rudy Gobert? He only played 21 minutes in game 1. And I think that's going to have a huge impact on this series as well. And I mean, you look right now, series most total rebounds. Chet Holmgren is plus 150. Rudy Gobert is plus 260. If we see more minutes from Rudy Gobert, that number has value on Rudy Gobert. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
JJ, I'll go first. I can't imagine more minutes for Rudy Gobert. He doesn't have a place on the floor. He's certainly not in a rim protecting kind of role, which would be the place that he could perhaps make a difference. It didn't matter. Chet Holmgren got his every which way that he needed to. He only took 1 3 and he made it. But the problem is Minnesota can't afford to have him on offense, because I just went through my whole rant. The man can't catch the ball clean. And if he can't catch the ball clean, then Oklahoma City has an advantage on defense every trip that big dummy touches the ball. Where does he end up in this series? On a plane to China. That would be my proposal, but I certainly don't want to have anything to do with rebound props having to do with Gobert, JJ.
See, that's the problem I have with it, Raheem. I don't know if they can focus him enough into these game plans, because it does seem like in many instances he's a complete fish out of water offensively. And with the way Oklahoma City can go and match up every which way, a lot of problematic matchups. So, listen, Finch is going to have to readjust after what he saw in game 1. I just don't know how much of that is going to involve Gobert. And listen, Gobert's had some moments in this postseason, but we've seen this over the years with Gobert where it's just like, well, how do we make this work? How do we get him involved? I think we may see that struggle throughout the rest of this series.
I brought that up because you brought up Julius Randle points. And I think if Gobert isn't out there, that's an even bigger impact for your Julius Randle. And I think you probably could play some alternates, because if Gobert is not out there, I mean, Julius Randle is going to be the guy inside.
Bingo. And somebody else has got to score. Well, fellas, when we come back, there's a rule in the NFL that we thought might be saying sayonara. Well, at the 11th hour, it's back. Is it back by our popular demand? Well, we'll dive into the return of the Tush Push in 2025. That's coming up right after this. All right, boys, I'm bummed about this one. I'm not going to lie. And I could blame my football team on it, because everybody voted whether or not they wanted the Tush Push to remain as a part of the NFL vernacular, if they wanted it to be a part of what we watch each and every week. And we know the Packers started this. And the Packers are the team that really poked the bear, and I can't wait to see what the Eagles do to them next year in the regular season. But here's my problem, Raheem. I think it's a terrible aesthetic. I hate watching the play. It's not easy on the eyes. It's not enjoyable. It's not particularly safe. I could do without it. I wanted it removed. I went on this rant, I remember, a couple of years ago when the Dolphins played the Eagles on Sunday Night Football. And yeah, I was salty. My team couldn't stop it. It led to like 3 or 4 fourth down conversions. I just don't like it. That's me. Take it for what it's worth. Dolphins clearly have no problem on it, because they said, yeah, keep it. We're voting for it. So I'm going to have to die on this hill. Are you okay with the Tush Push being back for 2025?
I actually want it back.
Okay.
I'm a proponent of, if you can't stop it, that's on you. You just need to stop it. Now, I have one issue with the Tush Push, is the fact that the offensive team can push their player forward, but the defensive player can't.
And I think that is the argument for getting rid of the tush push. If the defense can't push their players forward, then how can the offense do it as well? So that's my problem with it. But overall, I think teams just need to learn how to stop it. And then there's a lot of teams out there who try to emulate the tush push and haven't been able to do it. So clearly the Eagles have discovered an edge with Jalen Hurts. Jason Kelce retired, and they're still good at it. So,
well, and A.J. Brown makes a big difference on that too, because he's a 6'5" wide receiver taking all of Jalen Hurts and shoving him right into the line of scrimmage. You're right, Raheem. They do have the secret sauce, and they do it better than anybody else.
And the only team I've seen stop it, well, the only player I've seen stop it was Vita Vea. Everybody else, I don't know. They just can't stop it. So I think the Eagles, they've discovered an edge, and I don't think we should take that away from them, regardless of how much I'm a Cowboys fan.
So Raheem in on the tush push. Okay, Joe House, I'll let you break the tie here.
I don't have any problem with it. I like the idea of teams innovating inside of the rules. The rules permit it. They found a sort of leverage point, and they're taking advantage of it. And my recommendation, my encouragement to the rest of the league is go practice it. Go figure out how to make your own version of this an effective tool for you. I mean, yes, it has been the case that Philadelphia has shown us a mastery of it because of their extraordinary offensive line and the quarterback that they have. But the team that uses it the second most is the Bills, and the Bills have a similar level of success with it. They just use it like half the amount that the Eagles use it. But I think that's the right way to go. Go figure out how you can take advantage of what the rules permit here. That's my instinct.
House, how about Buffalo voting against it, though, Raheem? Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
They did. Maybe it's because they used it so poorly in the AFC title game, they want it taken away from them. I don't know, Raheem. Maybe that was why.
And here's the crazy thing. I actually think the tush push is better for the game because you see less punts. We know if you're watching the Philadelphia Eagles and you got them 4th and short, they're not punting. And I think I
totally agree with this.
And I think
totally agree.
Seeing less kickers and less punters on the field is a positive thing for the NFL.
So I get that, boys. It's a terrible play to watch. I'm sorry. I don't like punts either. I hate teams that punt in situations where you should go for it. You know me. I'm new age. I'm new school with that, Raheem. I get it. It's just a terrible look. I'm sorry. Anytime I see one of these tush push plays on 4th down, it's like the movement, the
But isn't it the same thing as a quarterback sneak? What's the difference?
It's different, though. I don't know. Aesthetically and just the visual of it, it is different for me. I can't stand to play it. But you're right. The Eagles have an edge on it. Nobody really has been able to figure out a way to stop it. I know you mentioned Vita Vea, but hey, they ran through this postseason, running it left and right, going and finding their way to another Super Bowl. So I guess I'm going to have to deal with it at least for another year until somebody in the competition committee brings it up for next year. Okay, Joe House, what are we more interested in? Buffalo Bills, preseason Hard Knocks, which is a rarity because normally the Hard Knocks team is a stinker. It's usually a team that's not in the playoffs, doesn't have championship aspirations. We haven't had a team with big-time hopes to win a title doing Hard Knocks since the Jets after Rex Ryan took them to the AFC title game. So I think anytime you have a championship caliber team that's under those microscope in July and into August, it's at least worth a watch. But then at the end of the year, and I've really grown to like this, the end of year Hard Knocks, the Dolphins were the team 2 years ago. Last year they did the AFC North. Well, this year, buddy boy, it's your team, it's Raheem's team, it's the Eagles and the Giants and the NFC North Hard Knocks Weekly coming in November. You excited about both? Neither? One? Take your pick.
NFC East? That's yeah.
NFC East, correct.
Yeah. Well, so a little knock on wood, little prayer to the football gods that our teams are alive and well, that we're healthy for all that drama at that point in the season. I'll just express my disappointment with the Bills because from a gambling perspective, I'm not kidding. I said on this podcast multiple times last summer into the early season that I was fading the Chicago Bears. I bet it at least 4 times under 8.5 wins, under 8.5 wins. Let me bet more. Every episode that the Bears were on and Eberflus the moron opened his mouth and showed his leadership skills, I was like, I can't believe this guy is an NFL coach. I need to get more down on the Bears not getting to their win total. I love the Bills this season. I think the pathway for the Bills is tremendous. And I don't want to be discouraged from my position. I love the Bills on their total. I love the Bills making the run they're going to make. I'm knocking on wood that everybody's healthy. So I'm slightly disappointed. There's no gambling edge to be derived from the Bills, Dream.
I mean, maybe you find out something. I mean, you just never know what you find out on Hard Knocks. So I know I don't like the Miami Dolphins. So
well, I mean, that's not saying much. You and everybody else, Raheem. You and everybody else out on the Dolphins after they're all in on them last year.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen would have to, get sick or get arrested or get an injury for me to hate the Bills this year.
Yeah, listen, all you need to know about the AFC East, last year, Josh Allen was not the favorite to win the division. The New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers were favorites to win the AFC East on the FanDuel Sportsbook site. And I think we know how the 2024 NFL campaign played out. So this year, if you want to bet the Bills to win the AFC East, which, oh, by the way, is something they have done every single year since 2020, you're going to be paying a premium. You're not going to be getting the plus money that you got last year. You're not even going to be getting the minus 170, 180 you got 2 years ago. You're laying like 5 or 6 to 1. I haven't looked at this, guys. I got to assume Buffalo probably has the highest price out of any team to win a division out of the two divisions, right? Like, it's got to be. I mean, just Kansas City's got a tougher division, so I don't think their price will be as high. Baltimore's got Cincinnati and other teams to contend with. I don't even need to see the odds, Raheem. I know it's going to be Buffalo as the highest price out of anybody to go and win a division. It has to be.
Yeah, Buffalo is minus 230 to win the division.
They're only minus 230? I still think that's a gift.
Yeah, they're minus 230. New England is plus 500. Miami's plus 600. And the Jets are 17 to 1.
Yeah, that's a gift. That's an absolute gift, that minus 230. Put that in the portfolio. Save it. Enjoy it. There's no way in the world the Buffalo Bills don't win the division. Unless, of course, you're talking about compromised Josh Allen. All right, boys, when we come back, we'll break out the grab bag as we have 2 more majors in the golf calendar to get to. The baseball season's about 2 months and change into the year. The WNBA season is upon us, and maybe a certain someone has something he's going to teach us, maybe not today, but in the days and the weeks and the months ahead, as someone that has not necessarily bet the WNBA before in his life. Might need a little bit of help. All that is coming your way right after this. All right, time for a little grab bag. Let's have a little mixed bag for the fellas. House, we have the Charles Schwab coming up this weekend. Scottie Scheffler coming off a PGA. Plus 250 to win this tournament. Outrageously priced. Give me somebody other than Scheffler this week.
Daniel Berger, who has been on a heater this season. He's back from injury, has a win already under his belt at this golf course, and has a string of top 30s all the way up until the PGA Championship. He finally finished outside of top 30, but we like him very much. And we're also looking at Lucas Glover, who has been a ball striking machine. I like him for a top 20 bet and a top 10 bet. Glover, my man, Berger to win outright. If it's not Scottie Scheffler, and it's going to be Scottie Scheffler.
Oh, it's just, plus 225, just outrageous golf prices. Raheem, we are almost 2 months into this Major League Baseball season. The Philadelphia Phillies got swept by the New York Mets about 2 weeks ago. Everything was coming up Mets. Juan Soto's return to Yankee Stadium did not go the way I thought it was going to go. Are you starting to feel better vibes about not only your Phillies to win a division, but with the Dodgers kind of being not as dominant as people would have thought at the beginning of this year? You think your Phillies alive in the National League, or you're kind of glass half empty?
I'm holding right now. Until I see it in September and October, that's when I'll believe it. Because, we saw the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, they were dominant the last 2 years. After that Arizona series, I think my heart was just so broken that I can't truly trust this team again. So we'll see what happens. We know that the Dodgers are going to be there. They don't have the pitching, but we know when it matters, they're going to be in a mix. So we'll see what happens.
Gents, love the fact that my Yankees best run differential in all Major League Baseball at this point in time. A lot of people sold Yankees stock at the beginning of the year. Not looking good at the moment. It's early. Final one. House, this one is a combined question for me and from you. Raheem, there's 2 of us that don't have a whole lot of WNBA betting experience. You, over the next few weeks, are going to try to teach us proper ways to bet the WNBA. just from, and not, I know it just started. I know the games are just underway. Is there been something that you've been able to take away from the last few years of betting on this league that maybe we should use to our advantage?
Yeah, I don't know if there's like anything I can necessarily take away from the last couple of years. It's basketball. It's just like betting the NBA. It's just like betting college. It is a little bit more physical. You saw the controversy with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark the other day. So, I mean, there's a lot more, controversy in terms of just physicality. But I don't know if there's anything you can necessarily take away. But, Caitlin Clark, she is right now just plus 115 to win MVP. And we know how dominant she's been. It's probably going to be between her and Nafisa Collier and Asia Wilson. I think, the chalk tends to win out a lot more in WNBA. It's way less teams. So it's much more top heavy.
Sign me up right now for that Caitlin Clark plus 115 to go win MVP. Talk about a lady on a mission. She is a lady on a mission. All right, we come back. Best bets. See where the boys are going to take us before we say sayonara. They're coming up next. All right, boys. Best bet time. House, I'm starting with you. Are you going Western Conference Finals? Are you thinking something else? What do you have for me, sir?
I'm in Western Conference Finals. We're going to have two plays. I'm going to be a little bit of a wimp here. We're going to play Julius Randle. Both of these are parlays. Julius Randle to score at least 15 points. And we're going to combine it in the first place with Oklahoma City on the money line. So Oklahoma City wins straight up, and Julius Randle scores 15 points. That's minus 141 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you want to go ahead and lay the points, and I do, then that takes that parlay from Randle and the Thunder laying 7.5 to plus 149. I'm playing both of those. Those are my best bets for Thursday night.
Like the sound of it. Raheem, what are we thinking?
All right, we're going with two. We're going with the Oklahoma City Thunder, Minnesota Timberwolves over 214 in game 2. Next, we're going to go with the EuroLeague Final Four. We're going to go with Fenerbahce plus 440 to win the whole thing. They are dogs to Panathinaikos on Friday, plus 2.5. I just think there's a ton of value on Fenerbahce. I think they're one of the best teams in Europe right now. I know Panathinaikos, they won it last year, but I think Fenerbahce is a little bit more consistent, and they might pull the upset.
Ooh, juicy. We're on to something with Julius Randle. Taking his over 20-plus points. It's at minus 115. He's been featured a ton. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And regular season baseball series price, Dodgers-Mets, NLCS rematch from a year ago. I don't like the way the Mets have looked over the last week and change. They are not swinging the bats well. The Dodgers went through their funk about a week and a half ago. I think that funk extends for the Mets over the next few days. So I will take the Dodgers on the series price for the weekend. Have a little fun with some nationally televised games. That's going to do it for this edition of East Coast Bias. For House, Raheem, JJ signing off. We are back next week. FanDuel TV, Ringer Gambling Show. A lot of NBA as the conference finals move on. Boys are out. Be good, everybody.